After about a week of just news of this game being constantly broken, crashing on people, jumping on fire, and destroying your house, there's been a huge controversy around Cyberpunk 2077 for people who own it on the PS4s and Xbox Ones. And I'm here to tell you my side of the story. Now, I do want to go ahead and make a disclaimer. I am playing the game on PS4 Pro. This, by the way, is not a review. This is just me breaking down what I think works about the game and what I would really like them to change moving forward in these updates that drastically need to be edited. I do want to also go ahead and say that I have not completed the game. I have, however, put about 20 something odd hours into the story and side missions, and that's all I'm saying, so take everything that I say with a grain of salt. This isn't me giving a complete review, this is just my week with Cyberpunk 2077. I do want to go ahead and start off on the positives. I like the open world in this game. One of the main things about an RPG is that I want to feel invested in the world that I'm spending time with. And I do gotta say, Night City is one of my favorite open worlds of all time. It's officially up there. I only had to put this many hours in, and as buggy as it is, I am enjoying the game. Secondly, the side characters are pretty fun as well. There's a lot of missions that you gotta do for them. There's an AI who works for like a cab company or insurance. It sometimes gets a little bit funny with his side quests. One of my favorites so far is Jackie, of course. You meet him early on in the game. And Panama, I believe her character is. I really got wrapped up in her story. That was really fun. You do have 3 playable options. You get Nomad, Street Kid, and Corpo. I went with Street Kid. I haven't had enough experience between the other two to tell you what's different, but from what I've heard, the only thing that's different is that there's a few dialogue options throughout the game that you sort of get based on your background. And that's really it. You kind of just get like a prologue section of the game that just sort of puts you where everybody else is, and really there's not that much to it. Before I do go into the video any further, no spoilers, I'm just giving you details on earlier sections of the games, that's all. They of course nailed the cyberpunk aesthetic. I love it, everything about it, the music on the radio stations, the nightclubs, the open world, the NPCs, it just feels unique and I love it. With it being a story-long RPG and you getting to live in this world, there is of course romance options. Now I do want to go ahead and say that I didn't find these romance options annoying. I actually got invested with the characters and wanted my character to have relations with them. Like I was saying earlier, Panama is one of the characters that you can romance, and so far she's been my favorite. I can't wait to go back through with a second playthrough with a female V and get to experience with other characters that I wouldn't have before. Also, the photo mode. The photo mode is one of the best photo modes I've ever had in a video game. Think the Rockstar editor from Grand Theft Auto 5, but just without recording gameplay. It's really fun. You get to change poses, you get to edit yourself in or out of the photos depending on what you want to focus on. It's one of the most detailed photo editors I've seen in a while, and it does deserve to be praised. It's one of my favorite parts of the game. Another thing, Keanu Reeves is in the game, of course. I believe everybody knows this at this point. Well, I do want to go ahead and take 2 seconds to say that he's really good in the game. There's a reason that they got a guy like him in this game, and I don't want to give too much away for his character, but a lot of time that you spend with this character is really fun and getting to know them, and they're kind of like the devil's advocate. No relation to the movie, ironically, but he's a character, you know, and that's all I'll say. Johnny Silverhand, you know, is one of the, he's kind of like, I'm not going to say that he's Handsome Jack in this game, because he's not Handsome Jack. He's his own character for sure. It just gave me Handsome Jack vibes is all it did. Next up, we're going to go ahead and get into these bugs. Let me just go ahead and tell you the terrible problems I've been having with this game. Now, I'm not on a base PS4, and I have seen the horrendous gameplay videos that people have been showing me. But I do want to go ahead and say that I have not had that bad as an experience, but I have been having a bad experience. Environments have trouble loading. That's something that's really annoying to me. Getting on a bike or in a car and trying to go to the third-person camera. The third-person camera won't always go. I have to like mess around with the photo mode or pull up the radio or something or wait until the entire environment's load in just so I can go into third person. I do realize that it's easier to go in third person in vehicle mode when you're out in the desert, because there's just not a whole lot of cities and NPCs to load and everything. It's just like, boom. But in the city, I'd have to open up like a quick menu and stuff, and that would annoy me. Like I said, this game is really, really buggy. You get a lot of phone calls in this game. That's usually how typically 90% of your quests are activated for side quests, is you just get a bunch of random phone calls of people being like, hey, go check this thing out. And there's also a lot of story beats that happen within these phone calls. So you'll be getting a phone call while you're in the middle of a phone call, and I can't tell which one I'm responding to, which one the dialogue option is going to, or what anyone is saying. It's something that really pulls me out of it. It's annoying, and I think that needs attention immediately for anyone to enjoy the story of this game or its side content.
Busted an attempted hit on my guy. Nobody. Yeah. And I mean cash. Nobody. Build job dogs. On a hair. No priors. But run a deep sweep just to be sure. Borrowing you. Thanks. I owe you. No patrol car. And stay off the frequencies too. Can't have this coming back.
Last but not least, the vehicles in this game. The handling is not bad on the bugs on them. I just want to say that. I don't think that they're terrible. Driving controls are not terrible. The world is not trying to be fleshed out like a GTA or something like that. I do think the car tuning could be a little bit better. I am very pleased with the bike controls. That's why I just prefer to play on a bike. But I think the cars just need a little bit of a fine-tuning. Another thing, the settings options, everything looks really, really low. You only get an option to mess with the gamma brightness, and of course you got some stuff like motion blur or film grain, stuff like that, but you don't really get to adjust the brightness or the contrast, just the gamma. That's really annoying. I don't know why that's there. This game, it does have a lot of bugs. It's really annoying trying to go into an area and wait for the entire area to load. It made me get scared to go to a certain mileage on my vehicle. If I went like 150 miles on a bike or whatever, I was kind of scared that the game was just going to break, because it did that once. Like, I ran into a wall next to a club, and I was like, what is going on? I can see this area, and no, the area had not finished loading. It was really annoying, really scary. I think that that's something that they need to fix immediately. Alright, I feel like you've already known a bunch about that stuff. The internet's talking about it, but I had to go ahead and just give my 2 cents on what I think is wrong with the bugs in this game. Now, if you didn't know this, the third-person cutscenes were scrapped from the game during development recently. This was like a 2020 choice. If you go back and watch the 2018 videos, you'll see how much of the third-person cutscenes are there, and it looks really cool. I think that looked amazing, and I hate that it's not there. And some of the arguments that I have heard on why they removed them, and how placement of looking at options in the game wouldn't feel as good as it would in first person, but I think a good example of this is Red Dead Redemption 2, and how much that game is just playable in first person, and how it calls for third person cutscenes at, a moment. And speaking of good games that can run on low end hardware, Red Dead Redemption 2 is like more beautiful than this game. It has a lot more going for it, and somehow it can still run on a base PS4 way easier. I know that because it was the last game that I had for PS4 before I upgraded to PS4 Pro, and it ran beautifully, way more than this game did. Another thing, the paths, in my opinion, from what I've known and what I've seen online from my different paths, not a whole lot was, now, again, I'm still early on in the game, so please take this part of the video with a grain of salt, but from what I've experienced, the multiple choices that you get throughout the game don't really change too much as you'd think at the moment. Like a couple interrogation stuff kind of didn't really, get the same outcomes, but it wasn't anything that was too game-changing for the story, especially with it having to do with the main quest. And since it's a main quest thing, and it being an RPG and CD Projekt Red, going all in on the story RPG mechanics, it's just weird that they didn't put a double down on that this time around as much as they did last time. At least from what I've seen so far. Again, this is not review. It's just me telling you what what I've just experienced so far. So that's pretty much all I've got. Other than that, character customization is really good, but the downside to that is that you just can't see your character a whole lot unless you're in photo mode. And that sucks, because there's a lot of really cool options. You can even customize your genitalia in this game. You can do that. You want a big wang, small wang, medium wang, or just of a J? Do it. Should you buy Cyberpunk 2077? From what I've seen on the next-gen consoles, like the PS5 and Xbox One, the Xbox Series X, it seems to be stable enough. They do seem to have their issues as well, but it seems to be stable there. If you have one of those consoles, look at the gameplay, look at what people are saying for that, and decide if you want to there. If you have a high-powered PC, and the bugs don't look like it bothers you, at least what's on PC, go for it. And another thing, go for it. But again, I right now cannot advise you to buy this game. It's sad how many people are actually sticking up for this game and making it a thing between people if you actually choose to say that this is a bad game because of all the bugs. Now, this is a good game, but the bugs, again, are just really, really bad, to the point to where they've added warnings when you go and buy the game saying this game is having a lot of issues. Don't have to do this. Even Sony is giving out refunds. There's a reason that there is a lot of people talking about the bugs in this game, and that's because a lot of these are really, really bad. It's stuff that needs immediate attention, and I don't think this game was ready for release. It just wasn't. I feel bad for the poor sons of bitches that don't have internet that are going to get this game. Man, they deserve all the love in the world if they get this game for Christmas, and they don't have any internet at all, and they have to like go to a friend's house. I know it's 2020, but there's still a lot of rural areas in this world. I used to live in a rural area. I didn't get proper internet until this year. Like, proper good high-speed internet. And it's just fine at this point. If you go watch my live streams on Twitch, by the way, little plug there. A-Man plays and stuff on Twitch. There you go. You'll see how the quality just kind of fades in and out, even at 720p. But yeah, I just can't suggest that you buy this game right now. I say wait. They are updating. They're being very open about the problems in this game, so I will give them hats off. They could just ignore this shit and never talk about it, but a few days after release, they was like, listen, we've got issues, and we're going to fix these, and they got a roadmap, and I applaud them on that. But again, I hate that they hid this gameplay from everybody until last second, literally last second. Nobody even got review codes for this game on the PS4 or Xbox One, or I think even PS5 and Series X. They just didn't do it, and that's just a dickish thing to do. So, again, buyers beware. Depending on what console you're on, I can't suggest that you go get this game right now, but if you really, really want it, then do it. If you got a console that you think it's going to run it, and you got a PC that's going to run it, then do it. But again, just my advice, don't get it right now. Anyways, have you been playing 2077? Have you been loving it? Have you been hating it? Well, what's your opinions down below if you got any. If you want to interact with the video, I don't really get much interaction on these videos, but I'd love to know. And hey, don't forget to hit a like on that button, please. It helps the channel out a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Amen out.